Hey everybody, Brian Shutt here, episode 2 of Cool Customers. Last time we were with Chris Ely of Goose the Market, this time with Kyle Lacy of Lacy. Kyle's a good buddy of mine. We met when we were both earlier in our careers doing marketing here in town.
Young bucks.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to say.
Kyle had hair at that point. It was spiky.
I used too much gel, so I lost my hair, unfortunately.
I don't know if that's...
I actually had a situation. I used Elmer's glue in high school.
Why?
Because it was better than the gel that I had for some reason.
Were you an Anderson?
I was an Anderson.
That explains, explains a lot. There's not a lot of pomade product around.
No, there's not.
So, as I mentioned last time in the intro, the goal here is just to tell the stories of cool people in Indianapolis that happen to be HomeSense customers. And so, Kyle, as I said, good buddy of mine, he's doing some interesting things here. So, as we were just sort of talking before we started, obviously you started your career as an entrepreneur, marketing. You were at Salesforce for how many years?
I was Exact Target for 2, and then Salesforce for a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, after the acquisition.
And you went all around the world.
Yeah, so we were lucky at Exact Target to have a team that was called Thought Leadership, the Thought Leadership team, and we traveled all over the world speaking at conferences on behalf of Exact Target and then Salesforce.
What I know that was a platform for a lot of things, but just as we sort of talk about the springboard from one thing to the next, what'd you learn there that sort of prompted you to make the next move?
I think I learned one thing, which is I don't think I exist very well within a very large organization, which Salesforce is. I love the company, love the product, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. And so I believe in any type of career that you need to change pretty drastically in order to grow, which I think you could probably speak to as well. Yeah. So it was either go work for a consumer product company or go into VC. Okay. And that's when I was recruited out of Salesforce by OpenView, which is a venture capital firm in Boston. Yeah. And moved the family out there.
So the little that I do know, Boston has a pretty big venture capital scene. Yeah. Where's that rank in the country?
Top 3 for sure.
So New York,
San Francisco, and Boston. Okay.
And so I would guess a lot more competitive there as far as, both for resources and the type of companies that are there that you're shopping through. What was your role there? And you were there for a couple of years?
2 years, yeah. I led marketing for OpenView. What's interesting about venture capital is that OpenView only had, we have 30 portfolio companies, only 2 of them are in the Boston area. Okay. So you have to market a venture capital firm just like you do any business. Right. You have, just like HomeSense has competitors, OpenView has competitors. So we needed to up-level our marketing game as a VC firm. Yeah. And that was part of my job. The other job was, the other 50% was building strategy and helping our portfolio companies, as like Lacy, which is one of them.
Yeah. So at what point out there did you realize that was going to sort of not last forever and you started looking for options?
Yeah, I ever since my father had me balance the family checkbook when I was like 10 years old, I knew that I was not cut out for any type of analytical job and numbers-oriented jobs. And at a VC firm, if you're an operator, which you work at a software company and you join, you either fall in love with the investment side or you go find another operating role. And it's usually a 2-year time frame for a lot of these things. Okay. So 2 years was up, and it was very clear that the investment side was not of interest to me. So they helped me talk to companies in Boston, and Lacy just happened to be looking for a marketing leadership role. And my wife and I, with our 1-year-old at the time, was looking to get back to Indiana eventually. So it was either now or it was 4 years from now.
Yeah. One of the things, before we jump into what you're doing here, which I think is awesome stuff, you have a pretty unique perspective on, I think, the tech scene for a lot of reasons. You've worn a lot of different hats, your own, big company, VC, startup now, but also, and I think the big thing is that like with being out of the country, out of the city, a little bit more objectivity, I think sometimes. This is to not knock anything, but like Indy has been promoting the tech scene, and I think there's been a lot of good things coming out of that constant promotion. Where do you see structurally the misses that we still have here that can get us to be actually competitive? Because like, that's not to say fake it till you make it, but like from a size standpoint, the scale of the capital that's out there in Boston. I mean, it's fractional here.
Among
other things.
If we're speaking specifically for software, I think that the software companies that are here need to grow bigger, larger, so that we have more Exact Target-like wins. When Exact Target was bought for $2.7 billion, but
I don't want to say that's like, obviously, to some extent, but like, what infrastructure-wise around the tech scene that are we missing?
Public transit. One. I mean, it was unbelievable, the ease of getting around Boston. Now there's too many people. Sure. The quality of life here is 500 times better. But public transit's probably one. We are seeing more East and West Coast money coming here, which is great. But if everybody has an opinion on whether Amazon should be here or not. But if you look at the pitch, our biggest issue, other than filling the jobs, which is an issue, is public transit. And we haven't made the investment to do it. Now, that's a much larger conversation. But if I were to compare Boston, you had the ability to get places with huge amounts of people, and Indy, I think, would buckle if we doubled the population here and kept the infrastructure as it is. That'd probably be the number one thing.
From the ecosystem of startups and technology, is there anything that you see, like if I had a magic wand and I could do this one thing that I saw in Boston that made it successful, or more opportunity out there that we could do in Indy?
Bigger funds here. The reality of Indy is that you don't have funds like OpenView where they can write a $20 million check. That is not against, it's not negating the high alphas and the elevates, and they are doing amazing work here. It's just that as Lacy grows, or as Springbuck grows, or as Moby gets big, like all these companies where you're going to need more money, it's not going to come from firms here. So more investment from a VC standpoint, but it's not a bad thing if it comes from the coast. It's still money, and it's still investing in the infrastructure, both the company infrastructure as well as the community, and I think that's a win-win.
That's interesting.
As long as you get on the map.
I just knew that. Well, you had to learn some things from being.
I mean, look, OpenView, when our investment strategy at the time, we were looking at tier 2, tier 3 cities because it's cheaper. There are companies that we invested in New York that looked at Indy and Austin, not Austin anymore, but Nashville, where they were putting sales offices because it was cheaper to hire people, and they're just as good. I could go on all day.
And probably spend less to get them there and get more of them.
Way less. Way less.
Interesting stuff. Which has to be where we have maybe those disadvantages in some areas as far as funds and or size of companies. We might be able to get some smaller size companies.
And we've got you got Infosys coming here, and you've got Aperio that's made large investments here, and we're staying, and Springbuck's staying, and I think it's all positive. We have a nonstop to Paris, which is pretty awesome.
Got it booked already? As soon as Rachel has the second kid, just take off. Like, sorry.
See you later, kids. Fend for yourself.
I've got to sell some software.
My son's 2. He can handle an infant.
They're good. Trust me. Really good dad. So, Talk to me about what's going on with Lacy. I've been aware of it. I've seen sort of Max's name on a lot of lists, and I'm sure people that are into the space understand it, but I was just learning some today. So give me sort of the high level.
So Lacy is online training software that allows sales teams and customer service teams to learn best practices, to practice those scenarios like emails, chat, ticketing systems, and in order to deliver better performance. I mean, that's the net of it. So we have about 1.3 million learners on the platform, 500 plus customers. We're about 83 people here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's really focused on sales teams at software companies and customer service teams at like consumer goods, household durables, that type of stuff.
Is there anybody in your competitive space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you have different competitors. For the sales side of it, it's a much larger market.
Yeah.
So sales enablement tools. On the customer service side, it's not as competitive. So we work really well in situations where there's high churn and you need to onboard somebody faster. Mm-hmm. And that tends to lend itself to both sales and customer support, customer service.
What, as far as growth goes, what's your guys' goals? What are you looking to get to? How quickly?
As quick as possible. No, I mean, I think we have I cannot remember, we had Governor Holcomb here a couple months ago, and off the top of my head, I do not remember what our hiring goal is for this year, but it's a lot.
If you're like most companies, it's some arbitrary number.
It's not arbitrary. Actually, what's funny is that we pulled up our first press release from the original announcement of when Max first started the company, and we were two headcount off from what he said we would hire by 2017.
That's solid.
Yeah. So I think it's between 30 and 50 people this year. Really depends on a lot of different factors, but
what sort of jobs do you think that'll?
Sales, a lot of engineering.
Yeah,
we're doubling the product team.
And that's a lot of software development.
Software development, customer service team, our client experience team. One of our differentiators in the market is that we have an unbelievable customer experience team. Yeah. So probably investments there as well. Sales.
I feel like everybody who's trying to build company that has, I think, work with meaning, focuses on culture. Yeah. How would you guys articulate the culture here that if somebody's out there that wants to try to find a role like that with you guys, what's a culture fit look like?
I mean, it's pretty simple. It's based off of our vision statement. It's our vision is we help people do better work so they can live better lives. That's what Max started the company on, and that's what we help our customers do, and that's what we believe here. So the culture is it's very fast paced. You have all the things that a normal software company has. Yeah. You have a lot of LaCroix. Dogs can hang out if they want. I'm sure there's a ping pong table somewhere, but it's about working with people who are A players and they are excelling at what they do and enjoying coming to work, but we build software to help people do better work, and that's a statement that is very powerful. Even if you're talking to a small e-commerce company, or you're talking to one of the Fortune 10. Yeah. So it's rewarding if you think about it that way.
For sure. Are you guys finding the applicant pool in Indy or in central Indiana is sufficient? Are you going outside of that, or where are you seeing your best people coming from? Here. Yeah.
It depends on the role. Marketing, we don't have a problem. Yeah. Sales, we don't have a problem. It's when you can start getting into the engineering, like partner programs. That's when we have problems, because problems in a good way, because engineers, you have this is Salesforce's second largest office, and they are competitive in their pay. Yeah. Like very competitive. So I think engineering is probably but we sell it on the culture, and it's a great place to work, and it's a good product.
Obviously, I know you're like fully engaged in what you're doing, and you don't have any time to think about stuff. But I also know you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Someone put you on the spot. What are things that you see as like, maybe it's totally off the beaten path, but just knowing how your mind works, that are like business opportunities that you're like, yeah, if I had another 60 hours in the week, this is what I'd be diving into.
I know for sure what I'd be diving into. And I think
like the competitor to LaCroix.
Yeah, for sure.
The future is in bubbled water.
Natural flavors with no carbonation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about this. I am pretty bullish on the generational business, family generational,
yeah.
where you have a lot of baby boomers that are retiring, but their sons or daughters do not want to take over the family business. And most of the time, these family businesses are run pretty efficiently with, I don't know about decent, I mean, they're making profit,
yeah.
but they haven't changed their processes in 20 years,
yeah.
but they're still making profit.
Sure.
I think there's huge opportunities to create some type of fund that allows you to buy these generational businesses and turn them into more profit, more cash revenue. So if I had 60 additional hours, it's definitely 100% what I would do. Yeah. Probably manufacturing companies.
Thought maybe plumbing.
Yeah, plumbing.
Yes.
Based off our conversation before you. Plumbing.
Yeah. I just got so much.
Yeah, services.
Yeah.
Those companies as well. There's huge opportunity because a lot of baby boomers are going to retire, and they don't want to sell the company, but their kids don't want it.
They've been cash cow sort of businesses, but their processes, procedures, culture is antiquated.
And I've talked to our mutual friend Marcus Hall about this as well. It's like, if you put a team together that is very good at managing and building processes and using tech to enhance like you've done at HomeSense, then there should be no reason why you couldn't eke out an additional percentage of profit.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, cool. Thank you for the time, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Anytime. Anytime.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. See ya.